Can you make money by buying a used PS5, taking it all apart, and selling all the parts? I bought this used PS5 from eBay for $650, but I have to make sure everything works and it's all in good condition. This video is sponsored by JLC PCB. More on them in a minute. And so far the PS5 seems to be exactly what I bought on eBay, so far it's good news, and it is actually in really good condition. It looks better than the pictures on eBay, so I'm pretty happy with it so far, but we have to make sure it works. Okay, and so far everything looks great. I'm gonna put a disc in and just make sure the disk drive spins up. Okay, and it does. Now I'm gonna do all the testing off camera. I basically just need to test everything and make sure every function works, so then we know that we can sell every part off of this. So I'm gonna get that done off camera. Let's start the disassembly. Now once we get this PS5 all apart, we're gonna go through and check all these prices on eBay so we can project a price, and then we'll list them on eBay and see how much they sell for. Now the first thing on this PS5 is these covers. And these actually look like they're in great condition. Like, I don't see any scratches or anything on them. They're in really nice used condition. So that's good. These don't go for a lot on eBay, I don't think, but we should be able to get some money for them. That was the top one. Let's check this bottom one. Yeah, this one's also in great condition. I mean, they're pretty much brand new. I don't see any wear on these at all, so that's great. Okay, and this is all good news. This has never been taken apart before. The warranty sticker is fully on there with no tampering. All right, and here we have the fan and the fan cover, fan shroud, whatever you want to call it. And the fan, there's absolutely no dirt on this. I think we're gonna get pretty lucky with this console because it looks brand new on the inside. There's just no dirt at all on there. Now we do have a Nidec fan. Now there are two styles of fans on these PS5s. I don't know whether the Nidec or the other style is worth more, but we should be able to get some good money for that fan. It's in really nice condition. This SSD cover is something that I didn't think of that we can check the price on and see if it's sellable. If it's not worth like $5, then I probably am not gonna sell it. I'd say probably starting at like $10. I probably don't wanna sell anything that's not worth at least $10 because at some point you have to consider the time it takes to do all the work to sell it and list it and stuff like that. Now I'm gonna keep all these case screws separate because I do wanna sell all of them. I think I'll probably sell just a full set of screws for the PS5. So that would include like all the case screws, all the fan screws, basically everything except for the X clamp. I don't think I'll include the X clamp screws because I think I can sell that separately. I'm gonna keep these screws organized into baggies. So whoever does buy it will have them organized nicely so they know where each of the screws goes, where each of the sets of screws goes. Now this cable, the disk drive cable, this I might be able to sell separately. We'll have to check on that. And here we go with this top plastic. This is also in good condition. I'm not sure if this is worth anything, but we'll be able to check on that in a little bit. Now, in order to sell this disk drive, I'm gonna need to take this board out because this board is married to the motherboard. So in order for the motherboard to be worth anything, it needs to have this disk drive board. So I'm gonna sell the motherboard and disk drive board as a set, and then we'll also sell the disk drive. I also will want to check and see whether this ribbon cable is worth anything on its own or whether I should sell it with the disk drive itself. Next, I'm going to get the daughter board out of the disk drive and then put the disk drive back together. Now you may be wondering to yourself, why would I do something like this? And there's two primary reasons. The first reason is because there's never enough parts for people trying to fix PS5, so if I can provide some parts for other people that are trying to fix theirs, that will enable more PS5s to be fixed. The second reason is that I'm always looking for ways to make money just for fun, and this is an interesting way that I actually have done once before. When the PlayStation 4 first came out, I did the same thing and I was able to make a little bit of money. Now PlayStation 5 parts fluctuate a lot, so I don't know if I got a good enough deal to really make very much or any at all, but I figured it's definitely worth a try and should at least at a minimum be an entertaining video. JLC PCB is one of the best places to get your PCBs manufactured and assembled. Once you're on the order page, all you have to do is add your Gerber file, then you can select the layers, dimension, the quantity, design, and all of these other options all right from their website. As you can see, the 3D preview for the assembled PCB looks pretty real, so you know exactly what you're gonna get. So here we have a PCB order directly from JLC PCB. Obviously it's shipped very carefully, packaged really well. And here are 2 of the pieces. And then the other 3 pieces. Now this assembled PCB is built by JLC PCB, developed by Geekbull, who is a JLC PCB Korean partner. These are just a little bit different from the Arduino NAND. They changed the FT232 to a CH340, and they also tweaked the decoupling capacitors and AVCC and AGND. So these 5 PCBs cost about $80, and that includes the SMT soldering and shipping cost. So if you want to check out JLC PCB, I'll put a link right in the description that'll take you right there. And with all the screws out, the next thing I want to do is remove these antenna cables, and I want to keep them in as good of condition as possible because I will try to sell these separately. Now we should be able to get this cover up. Come on. There we go. Now this cover we have to check on. I don't know if it's worth anything or not, but it might be because it does include this heatsink, so we'll have to check on that as well. And here we have the APU clamp and the spacer. I think I can probably sell the screws, the clamp, and the spacer all as an assembly. And probably we'll be able to get the most money for it that way, especially the screws, because sometimes people tighten them up too much or don't get a good grip on them when they're removing them and strip them out. So hopefully we'll be able to get some money for that. And now we can remove the ribbon cable for the front USB board. The USB board is another thing we can sell, and maybe this ribbon cable will sell separately. We'll have to see if there's anyone selling just the ribbon cable or whether it's the full assembly with the USB board and ribbon cable. And now we can take the board out, and there we go. Now one of the things we'll have to do is do our best to secure this liquid metal so it doesn't fly all around in shipping. But this board looks really good. Now we can set it aside and get this bottom cover off, the heatsink, and the power supply. I meant this bottom metal plate, not cover. The metal plate on the bottom. And with the power supply screws out, we can remove this bottom metal plate. There we go. Okay, and now we have the heatsink. Oh, we got to get this ribbon cable off first. And I do want to take it off carefully. Not that it really matters that much, but like I said, I think it just looks better. Shows that we cared when we were taking it apart. And this one is the newer updated model of PS5, so that's good. I mean, I think that's good. I would assume that these sell for a little bit more, but I could be wrong. So there is the heatsink. And then of course we have the power supply. Now this is going to be one of the things that brings us some money, I think. I'm also going to remove these antennas right here because I think we'll be able to get some money for those too. There we go. So now we can sell the power supply and the antennas separately. Okay, and now we're getting close to the end. This middle piece right here with the USB board and LED board. I'm not sure whether we should sell this as an assembly or whether we should try and sell everything separately. We also have the power button board right here. If I remember right, these are going for like $25 just the power button board, so it may be better to try and sell this separately, but we can check that out in a little bit. And then the last thing we have is just this bottom plastic piece with this kind of fan cage that is molded into the case or plastic riveted in. Another piece that I'm not sure is worth anything, but we'll be looking all this up in a minute. So here are all the parts that I think are gonna bring in the bulk of the money when it comes to this PS5 sale. We've got the motherboard with the matched Blu-ray drive board, we've got the power supply, we got the fan, the controller, and we have the disk drive. I think all of these items just might get pretty close to making our money back, but we've also got a lot of other small parts that just might be the difference between losing money and making money. Let's look them up on eBay and see what they're worth. So the first thing we're going to search for is the PS5 motherboard to see what that's worth. Then we're going to come down here and look at the sold items. Okay, so we've got a parts only motherboard for $275. Do we have any others? Another parts only for $199. And another parts only for $350, sold June 17. June 14, a parts only for $340. So I think our motherboard, given that it's fully working, let's try and list it for $450. If I was just trying to sell it for the maximum amount of money, I would just set a price and just leave it there for a long period of time. But since this is for a video, I do need to get these things sold fairly quickly so I can get on with the video. Next, let's see how much the power supply goes for. This is for a PlayStation 4, so that doesn't matter. Here we have one sold June 28, which was 1 day ago. This one sold for $199. This was $179. This was $151. So I think we're gonna try for $199. We might as well set the price high and see if we can get that. And I'm gonna look up one more thing on camera and then I'll do the rest off camera. Let's check the fan. Okay, here we go. We got a Nidec fan for $32 with free shipping. Another one for $38 with free shipping. Another one for $34. So those are the solds. Let's actually go and see what's for sale right now. That will tell us how much inventory is out there. Now, I'm gonna narrow this search down by going to replacement parts and tools. There we go. So we've got a 34, a 43, oh, a 25. So this is the 23 blade. I believe we have the 17 blade Nidec. This one's 39. So let's list ours for $35. Now a $35 fan isn't gonna bring in a ton of profit, but it's definitely worth selling because I should be able to fit that in a padded flat rate envelope, and that costs about $9 to ship. So that'll still leave a profit of about $25 minus a few fees in there. And after running all the numbers, these are the prices that I came up with for all of those parts, which equals a total of $1,353. That is my projected price that I'll be getting for all of these. I'm estimating my expenses at 35% of the projected sell price. So these are all the estimated expenses. It comes out to $1,123.55. That includes the price I paid for the PS5. My estimated profit, if all those numbers are anywhere near correct, is going to be $229. Now it's time to get them listed on eBay and see if we can actually make $200 on this. So the next thing we need to do is build the listing. I'm going to first take some photos for the motherboard and the disk drive board. I'm going to take a photo of the top and the bottom, and then a close-up of each of the part numbers or the board numbers, and then we can use that to build our listing. Okay, and I am putting it as no returns just because I don't want someone buying it and then putting it in their PS5 and finding like, oh, it's actually the power supply that's bad, and then sending it back. That's definitely something we want to avoid, so hopefully this will prevent that from happening. Okay, so our return policy we need to change. No returns for any reason. There we go. Okay, and we're gonna go with a fixed price. Our fixed buy it now price is gonna be $450. And let's see, I hope we can get that. We're gonna not take any offers right now. And since we're doing flat rate shipping, we can do the same cost to all buyers. And that is USPS Priority Mail Medium Flat Rate Box. And that will cost me about $14 to ship. I'm just gonna put it to $15. And same 2 business day handling time. That should give me plenty of time to get it out in time. Okay, now we're gonna save and close that. Okay, and now we should be able to list it. And there we go. So we've got the motherboard listed. I'm gonna go through and get everything else listed off camera. Then I'll come back once things have sold and we'll update our spreadsheet and see if we've made any money or not.
The following Thursday.
So I got everything listed and waited about a week and got 0 sales. So then I decided to lower my prices a little bit and put free shipping on everything, and we finally have a few sales. I've got everything all shipped out already, so let's take a look at the numbers. So here we are with our spreadsheet. Obviously the biggest sale was the motherboard and disk drive. I was able to sell that for $449. Now I estimated that I'd have expenses of $157 and the actual expenses were only $72.47. So my estimated profit was $292. Actual profit was $376. That's a huge profit for the motherboard and disk drive, and that's what we needed to be able to hopefully make some money on this, because that's going to be the majority of the money we make, most likely. So then the other thing we sold was the disk drive. I thought I could get $199 for that, and we were able to get $199. Expenses were a little bit less than the $69 I thought they would be, and actual profit was also more than I thought it would be at $156. And then we also sold the stand. Now I thought I could get $25 for it, but actually I got almost $30. Expenses were a little bit more than I thought they would be, but we still got a little bit more of a profit at $17.04. The problem though is we're still $99 behind, so let's give it a little more time and see if we can sell anything else.
Later.
And after only a few more days, the power supply finally sold, and it's a big one, so let's take a look at the numbers now. And looking over here at our spreadsheet, the power supply, I thought I could get $199. Prices were a little lower than I thought, so I was able to only get $159. Expenses were also lower, which is great. Expenses were $39 versus $69. Estimated profit at $129, but I was actually only able to get $119. But that brings us into a profit of $20.10. But a few other things have also sold, so I'm gonna get those shipped out and then update the spreadsheet, and then we'll take a look at the numbers again. So all in all, we sold the motherboard and disk drive board, the power supply, the disk drive, the controller, the screw set, the stand, the disk drive cable, and the curved vent / grill that goes on the top of the PS5 for a total profit of $101.50. Now we also have a lot of other stuff here that could sell in the future. A lot of this stuff takes a long time to sell, so it might take a little bit to sell, but if my projections are anywhere close to being accurate, we might make another $200 on this PS5. But I'm interested in hearing what you think of this way of making money, so let's discuss down in the comments. If you like this type of video, you might like the video where I take 23 broken iPods and try and fix them and make money in a similar way. I'll put that video up on your screen now if you want to come check it out. Thank you again to JLC PCB for sponsoring this video. Thank you for watching it, and I hope you have a good one.